1978 was the year of 3 popes. Pope Paul VI died in August after a 15-year pontificate. He was succeeded by an Italian cardinal who took the name John Paul after his 2 predecessors, but he died just 33 days later. Karol Wojtyła and his fellow cardinals convened once again to choose a successor. A puff of white smoke meant the decision had been made.
Habemus Papam. We've got a pope. That much we can understand. And suddenly we hear this name, which nobody can pronounce, and most people still can't pronounce outside of Poland. Karol Wojtyła? What is a Karol Wojtyła? We couldn't find him anywhere. Finally, we realized that the first non-Italian pope in 4.5 centuries had been elected, and he was from all places, Poland. We couldn't guess then what a profound effect on his own country and on the world this new pope would have.
I was a young assistant in the Archdiocese of St. Louis, and I heard it, and I can remember there was almost like a sense of dare, a sense of excitement, a spark, a new interest, a new hope. But it almost seemed from the beginning that what the church, what the College of Cardinals was saying is, we're not going to do business as usual. There's going to be something different. There's going to be something bold. There's going to be something daring about this new pope.
The changes began from the day of his installation. Correspondent Jerry Bowen told CBS viewers what he saw.
More than 250,000 people gathered in St. Peter's Square to witness the start of the ministry of John Paul II, a celebration marked by its international flavor and at times informality. There were thousands of pilgrims from Poland, some dressed in native costume, and banners in the square held by Lebanese seeking peace for their homeland. Most of Europe's royalty was present, as were diplomats and politicians of the West and the East, including Henryk Jablonski, the president of Communist Poland. Like his predecessor, John Paul ruled out a crown and received instead the pallium, a wool stole covered with crosses. 112 cardinals of the church walked to the papal throne to give the 58-year-old pontiff the kiss of obedience. But when the Polish primate, Cardinal Stefan Wyszynski, approached, John Paul rose to embrace him and finally kissed his hand, a sign of respect for the senior prelate. In a strong, at times forceful voice that echoed across the massive square, the pontiff, in his homily, made a plea for religious freedom, asking governments to open their boundaries, economic and political systems to Christ, so that he can serve mankind. Most of his address was in Italian, but in a symbolic gesture to Catholics in the Soviet bloc, he spoke in Russian, Czech, Ukrainian, Lithuanian, and Polish, asking for their prayers. He also spoke in a half-dozen other languages, including English.
To all of you who speak English, may Christ give you his grace and his peace, overturning the barriers of division and making all things one in him.
As priests fanned out to the tens of thousands in St. Peter's to give communion, another small line of the faithful, mostly from Poland, received communion from the new pontiff. And unlike his predecessor, who wanted to reach out to the crowd but was restrained by papal assistance, John Paul II walked boldly down the sloping steps of the basilica at the end of the Mass to bless a woman in a wheelchair and a score of other pilgrims who pushed to get near him. Moments later, a bouquet was thrown from the crowd and a young boy picked it up, faltering between the stern wave-off of a papal aide and the beckoning of the pontiff. It had been a precedent-breaking installation ceremony, punctuated at times by emotion and surprise, a celebration that tens of thousands simply refused to leave. And shortly after the more than 3-hour service had ended, Pope John Paul appeared again, this time at his apartment window with a special message for the young people in the square below. You are the future of the world, he told them. You are the hope of the church. You are my hope. The crowd responded with enthusiastic and continuous applause until the pontiff said, "We have to finish. It's time for lunch, even for a pope."
A voi e al Papa.